Hello, and welcome to NASA Rockets to Racecars at Track Aerodynamic Demonstrations. My name is Marile Colon Robles, and I'm an education specialist at NASA Langley Research Center here in Hampton, Virginia, and one of the educators from the Rockets to Racecars team. Thank you so much for being willing and able to go to an at Track event. This video is to go through all the activities related to aerodynamics that will happen at the Jimmy Johnson appearance. Students coming to the Jimmy Johnson appearance will have about 30 to 45 minutes with you and the other teachers going through all these exciting demonstrations and learning how it correlates to what they're going to see that day to airplanes. One of the things that you'll do is to get to the track. You'll have to park in the area, make sure to know where to park, make sure to know your phone numbers, just in case something happens. The people helping the public park in the area don't really know what's happening inside of the track. So make sure to have those phone numbers handy with you and any map necessary to get to the area of the Jimmy Johnson appearance. When you get to the area for the Jimmy Johnson appearance, you'll have their time to prep the materials needed for the event. What you'll see are NASA bags, and the NASA bags will need to be stuffed with all the materials needed for the activities. So inside each NASA bag, you will need to put one index card, one NASA sticker, 3 straws, 2 ping pong balls, 1 Jimmy Johnson booklet, activity booklet, and crayons, a box of crayons. This is what's going to be inside the bag. Each bag you will put in front of each chair at the table. There's going to be 1 chair for each student that's going to be participating of the event. The idea is that the NASA bags will be right in front of them so that they can reach in and take out the materials for the activity that you're leading them through. Parents are going to be either behind them or at the back. So make sure that each chair will have or has a bag right in front of them at the table. Now, the other video that you might have seen goes through aerodynamics, Bernoulli's principles, and how having that difference in pressure will lead to lift or downforce. Remember that lift and downforce are basically the same. It's just that one is pointing up and the other one's pointing down. And that's a really neat correlation. We use lift for airplanes because we want airplanes to go up. But we don't want the cars to have that. So we have downforce in the cars. And then we have the splitter in the front and the spoiler on the back, creating downforce to make sure that that car stays on the track. So the activities that you're going to be doing with the students. The first one is using the index card. It's the introduction activity. You're going to ask the students to take out the index card and take out the crayons and draw a car on the index card. If you notice here, I have a card already drawn on this index card. And the neat thing about this activity is that you'll notice the level of the student. You'll notice as a team, you and your colleagues there to lead, that are there to lead the activities, will notice which students will need more help through the activities, just based on the drawing and any help that they may need with the drawing of the card. Please make sure to invite any parents to sit with their children if they're very young or need a lot of help. Now, one of the first activities that we do after we draw the car is the balance. And balance is really important for NASCAR and for NASA. At NASA, we have many things that require balance, not just airplanes, but also the rovers. Everything needs to be balanced, even though it might not always be at balance. Now there's different ways that we can achieve this, or different circumstances where we have to achieve balance. If we notice here in the picture, there is banking at the track that leads to maybe the cars being unbalanced at that point. But the banking on the track will help the cars turn by going as fast as they go. There's different things that are done to the car, like weighing them under each tire and giving the tires camber, which is that inclination to the side, to make sure that they are balanced, even though they might not be completely balanced. They're balanced for the situation that they're going to face. At NASA, we have rovers, and the rovers have to go over certain circumstances, but still be balanced, making sure that the instruments still work and that it's still operational. So with this activity, if you notice here, the girl on the top participating of a Jimmy Johnson experience is doing the balance activity. The idea is that you have one of the straws and take that card where the student drew a car on it and try to balance it on the tip of the straw. You talk about, as the students are doing that, you can talk about all the correlations of balance. And you have fuel on the car, you have fuel on airplanes, but as you're flying or as you're driving, that fuel changes. So the weight distribution changes, so it might balance a little bit differently. So making sure that you're balanced makes sure that you're able to reach your final destination. The second activity is then the tent activity. You take the same index card. Now using the red line as your guide, you're going to make a fold. And using the second line from the bottom up, that second blue line, use it as a guide to make a fold, and you kind of make a tent or a table. Now you ask the students, the teacher leading now this activity, asks the students, what would happen if you were to take a straw and blow under the card? Make sure that they respond before they try it out. We want to make sure that this is very engaging and that they answer and have opportunities to engage with you and the other teachers there. Of course, what is happening? If you take a straw and you blow air under the card, you're accelerating that air. You're making it go faster relative to the air on the top. When we were talking on that other video, we know that faster moving air leads to lower pressure, right? That's what Bernoulli tells us. Faster moving air, lower pressure. On the top now, while that is going on, you have slower moving air relative to what you're blowing with the straw, so it leads to higher pressure. Remember, everything goes from high to low. So high to low, the net force will lead the index card to be pushed downward. The correlation now to this is that this is the splitter on the front of the car. The splitter on the front is put really low, really close to the ground, making that air to be squeezed under the car. Remember that when we squeeze a fluid, it'll go faster. Faster moving air, lower pressure. Everything goes from high to low, so the net force is down towards that low pressure right at this track surface. In airplanes, if you were to change that and have high pressure on the bottom, low pressure on the top, you would have lift. Okay? So this is the tent activity. After students do the tent activity, we do another Bernoulli activity using the ping pong balls. Now, depending on where you're at, it's good to use now the index card. Now bring it, fold it over to put the two index cards, or the two ping pong balls, I'm sorry, in between. Those sides now that you folded are going to act like a little barrier to hold those ping pong balls in place. Make sure to help the students place the ping pong balls at the table, still leaving a little bit of space in between the ping pong balls. Now, the idea with this ping pong ball and straw activity is that you have some space in between your ping pong balls, and you use that same straw you used before to blow in between the ping pong balls. Now, what's happening? If you have two ping pong balls and you're blowing air in between the two ping pong balls, you have faster moving air right in between them, slower moving air on the sides. Remember that faster moving air is lower pressure. Slower moving air here on the sides is faster or higher pressure. And everything goes from high to low. Those ping pong balls are going to come in towards each other. Now, when you're doing this activity, it's important to blow down instead of sideways. It's important to blow straight up and down. So as the students are doing this activity, the lead teacher and all the other teachers make sure that the students are holding the straw right above the two ping pong balls instead of this way. After we do this activity, we do the rotor motor activity. And the rotor motor activity is in the booklet. What you do is you ask the kids to go to the booklet, go to the back of the booklet, and open the booklet. Okay. If you notice in this page, you'll notice a cutout, and you'll ask students to cut out, push out the rotor motor. Once they push out the cutout, you'll have this shape. Now, in this set of materials, you'll also have paper clips. Now, the paper clips you have on yourselves, do not pass them along to students until this activity. They're small and they can be lost inside the bag if you put them in the bag. So it's easier just to keep them in your hands. You'll ask students to follow along on the folds. Fold X to the back, fold this Y to the back. If you notice there's a Z on the bottom, you fold it up. Teachers, as the lead teacher is leading the folding, make sure that you help all the students along. The paper clip is to hold that last fold in its place. Now ask them to drop the rotor motor in the shape and see what happens. And of course, it's just going to drop straight down. After everybody has had a chance to drop it this way, now ask them to use the wings. These part here are wings. And the idea is to fold one forward and one towards the back. And you'll have this shape now. Now ask them what do they think will happen if they drop it this way. And give them an opportunity to try it. The best way to do is to select the tallest teacher of the group and do some demonstrations so that everybody sees what happens. And what will happen is that it'll start spinning and slowly falling to the floor. So what is happening? When you have these folds now, you're creating drag, and drag is that air resistance. Air is trying to move in this space, but now you put something in between it, and now it's pushing that surface. That is called drag. Drag is what happens if you want to move one way, it'll push you the opposite direction. So as the rotor motor wants to go down, that drag is pushing up. Now it's pushing up on the wings, but as you're creating that as well, you're creating differences in pressure. You're creating high pressure and low pressure. So now you're creating a little bit of lift as well, because if high pressure is in the bottom, low pressure is in the top, everything goes from high to low. Now you're creating a net force pointing upward, which is lift, and it'll start spinning. So using now drag in a good way to slow down. Now drag is not good for cars, right? Drag is what will slow you down unless you're on a curve. And make sure to see the Google Hangout that NASA did with Jimmy Johnson Racing, where he talks about drag and lift in the cars. Now the last activity is ping pong ball. And it's trying to make the ping pong ball float basically on top of the straw. I'm going to show you guys a picture here of how it would look. You're going to hold the straw. Instead of how you usually hold it, you're going to fold it, and now you're going to blow on the other end of the straw. Once you blow on the other end of the straw, you want to try and put the ping pong ball on the top and balance it there. Ping pong ball and straw activity. Okay. So if you notice the girl in the picture, she's blowing and maintaining that ball right there on top of the ping pong, of the straw. So what's happening? You're pushing air, and the air is pushing the ping pong ball to stay right above. Now the ping pong ball has curved surface, right? It's a sphere. So as the air goes around the curved surface, if you watch the first video about aerodynamic principles, whenever you force a fluid to go around a curved surface, it'll go faster. So now that we have faster moving air going around on the sides of the ping pong ball. Whenever a fluid goes faster, it'll lead to lower pressure. If you think of the air around the ping pong ball, all the area around it, it's higher pressure out here, lower pressure right at the surface of the ping pong ball. Everything goes from high to low. So as you're doing the activity, or as the students are doing the activity, you'll notice that it'll kind of want to wobble, but it'll come back to center. And that's where that high pressure pushing, that high to low pressure, that net force, will push the ping pong ball to stay on the air stream. So if you were to have the curved surface, it'll probably just drop. But because you have the curved surface, you'll create a difference in pressure that'll keep the ping pong ball on the airstream. Okay? So these are all the activities that we do. That last one can be a little bit messy, having ping pong balls flying everywhere. So make sure to keep your eyes out and grab any ping pong balls that might fall. Once you do all the activities, make sure to ask the students to put away all the materials back in their bags. Maybe have the booklet out, and as you wait for Jimmy Johnson to come out and talk to the students. These are the activities that we are asking you guys to do as demonstrations of aerodynamic principles. Let's go through those activities and the expectations one more time. So at a Jimmy Johnson appearance, you'll have tables set up so that each student will have space at the table. There will be chairs in front of the table, a chair for each student. The parents will be either behind the students or at the back. In this picture, you'll notice that the students are right at the table. The parents are all the way in the back. All the way in the back. The tables are set so that students are on the outside, teachers and Jimmy are in the inside. Please make sure that if you do have little ones, to invite those parents to sit with the little ones at the table to help them through the activity. You will get there with time to pack materials. You'll have NASA bags. You'll have the NASA sticker, ping pong balls, straws, index card, the NASA Jimmy Johnson booklet, one set of crayons, and the Rockets to Racecars flyer. The Rockets to Racecars flyer is this one, and it talks about all the correlations that are in racing or spin-off technology developed by NASA that is used in racing. And if you notice in the back, you can read more about all those technologies. This is the Rockets to Racecars handout sheet or informational sheet. We ask that all of you guys, each teacher, when you're leading the activity, to make sure to talk about yourself. Tell everybody your name, what you teach, and where you teach. Make sure that they know that you are there to help them through the activities and that you are a teacher that has been trained to do these NASA activities through the Rockets to Racecars program. Each teacher is assigned to an activity, at least one activity, while the other teachers lead and help that lead teacher. Please be sure to use inquiry-based learning and be very engaging, as we know that you are. There will be at least 2 microphones available. The lead teacher should use one of the microphones, and somebody else could have the second microphone just in case. The sequence of activities is the welcome and introduction, welcoming all the students to the event, letting them know that you guys are teachers from the local area, getting them excited about all the aerodynamics that they're going to see at the race through some fun activities. The first activity is drawing a car on the index card. The students that you will be seeing range from pre-K to 6th grade. Doing this activity will give you an idea of the needs that the student might need throughout the next set of activities. The next activity is the point of balance. Point of balance activity uses one straw and that index card where the student drew the car and trying to balance it. It relates to the importance of being balanced even though you might not be balanced at that circumstance. Relates to cars, airplanes, and even Mars rovers. The third activity is the tent activity. Students help the students fold that index card to create a table and then have them blow air under the tent, under the index card to create downforce. Remember that this activity relates to the splitter in the front of the car. By folding it lengthwise instead of widthwise, the student will not need as much breath to get that activity to work. The next activity is ping pong balls. Turn that index card over, so now the flaps are on the top, and those flaps will now contain the ping pong balls. This will help you keep those ping pong balls in place. Make sure that they are able to have the ping pong balls in a way so that there's space in between them to blow air using that straw. Remember to ask them to blow air straight from the top instead from the side to get the experience of seeing those ping pong balls come together. Remember that when you blow air in between the ping pong balls, you're creating a low pressure because you're creating faster wind speeds. Bernoulli says faster wind speeds lead to lower pressure. There's going to be high pressure around the ping pong balls, lower pressure in between. Everything goes from high to low. So the ping pong balls are going to come together. The next activity is the rotor motor activity. Make sure to ask the kids to grab the booklet out of the bag, bring it to the end or flip it to the back, and open that last page. You will see the cutout for the rotor motor activity. It's perforated already, so all the students have to do is push it out and follow along with you as you fold the activity, fold the shape. The paper clips that you will have will be handed out during this point as they fold. The paper clip will go on the bottom to hold that last fold in place. Remember to ask students to drop the rotor motor without the flaps open, just to see what happens. And then ask them what will happen once you open the flaps. Again, what you're creating is using drag to create lift. So it'll make it fall very, very slowly. The last activity is ping pong ball and straw. Grab the straw and fold it up. And make sure to blow air not from the side that you're used to, but from the other end, as in the picture with the girl. And the idea is to try and keep that ping pong ball right above the airstream from the straw. What you're creating is you're forcing air around a curved surface on all the sides of that ping pong ball. By forcing air around a curved surface, you're making it go faster, which will lead to lower pressure. Higher pressure around the ping pong ball will push it and keep it right above that airstream. Once you're done with the activities, make sure to ask the students to put all the materials back in the bag and maybe have something out, like the booklet that they'll want to have Jimmy sign. You will get a cue that Jimmy Johnson is ready. We ask that all the teachers go to one side, since Jimmy is there to dedicate time to the students. Please be sure to not interrupt the conversation between Jimmy and the students. Hand over the microphones to the person leading the conversation with Jimmy. And do not ask Jimmy at the end for any autographs or pictures. Thank you so much for your dedication. Please let us know if you do have any questions. Thank you so much.